Judee Sill's story is one of captivating talent, heartbreaking challenges, and a musical legacy that continues to inspire. Few artists have burned so brightly in such a short time. Today, we're going to delve deeper into her world with the directors of the new documentary Lost Angel, The Genius of Judee Sill, Andy Brown and Brian Lindstrom. Welcome, both of you. So, welcome, filmmakers Andy Brown and Brian Lindstrom, to the show again for Lost Angel, The Genius of Judee Sill. Congratulations.
Thank you, Antonio.
I've been following this film, and I'll tell you why. Because when I interviewed you last year, people have not stopped sending me comments about the film because they wanted to know about when's this film, when can I see it? You know, they were like, you know, they wanted to know where they could see the film. And I would direct them to, you know, the film festival. You guys were doing the film festival, you know, but a lot of them wanted to buy it, stream it, and so on. So from time to time, I would send it to, you know, to the PR, you know, Emma, and she would tell me, and she would send me a link where I could, you know, give it to them, you know.
Right.
Everything that I got, all the comments that I got were positive about your film. They were just remembering things from the past, and I found it fantastic, you know. So I want to congratulate you because this must be a fantastic journey for you both, right?
Well, thank you, Antonio. It certainly is, and we're delighted to say that it's available now on Apple TV and on Amazon.
Right, right. I even got an affiliate link from Prime Video, you know, and I'm sending people that link so they could, you know, buy the film or rent it.
Oh,
So
thanks a lot.
there you
Appreciate
go.
it.
So, and believe me, I've been getting a lot of views on the interview, so I'm hoping great success here because, like I said before, I haven't changed my thought about your film, but since I got a whole bunch of new audience now, I like them to know more about the film. So let's start. What initially drew you to Judee Sill's story, and what made you feel compelled to create a documentary on her?
I first heard about her
Okay.
in the early 2000s from Andy Partridge of the band XTC, who talked about her huge influence on him, and I didn't know who she was. I downloaded some things from Napster, I believe, and around a year or so after YouTube started, there was the video of Judee performing the Kiss and the Old Grey Whistle test that appeared, and it had a very strong effect on me, and I knew it would on Brian. So the next time he visited me in New York from Portland, I showed it to him, and he was very taken with it, and we talked a lot about who this person was, and there probably was a Wikipedia entry, and it just intrigued us because of all the crazy stories about her past. And Brian, do you recall what else happened?
Yes, well, we started a deep dive not only into Judy's music, but also into her life story. And just the more we heard and the more we found out, the more intrigued we were. And in a strange bit of coincidence, I was finishing up my film Alien Boy, and on the last day of the sound mix, my friend Michael Howes had been watching our two kids at the time so that I could work on the sound mix. And when I went to pick up Carver and Bobby, Michael said, "You know who you should make a film about is Judee Sill." And I didn't even know that Michael knew of Judee Sill.
Well, he assumed you didn't know who she was either.
Exactly. And so Andy, I told Andy that, and Andy texted me back, "Should we?" And that led basically to where we are right now. And we did our first round of interviews in December of 2013 in Los Angeles.
Wow, wow. Researching someone who is no longer with us, you know, it could be challenging. So how did you approach uncovering the hidden aspects of Judy's life and career?
I mean, it was a challenge because there was so little archival material out there, which frustrated us early on. And we wanted to tell the story as much as possible in Judee's voice, but there was no recording of her doing that, no interviews of her doing that. There was the Great Rolling Stone cover story of her in '72, which is an oral history. It's her telling her whole story, and it's such a wild tale. And we searched for the possible audio tapes from that and couldn't find, those did not exist. And then we were very lucky because we came across an article, a really in-depth article about Judee around that same time, Rolling Stone, by an journalist named Chris Van Ness. And we tracked him down to his home in New Haven, Connecticut, where he was wheelchair bound. And he said, you know, I might have an audio cassette from that interview. And it's in my attic. I don't know. And I went up and I found the cassette and we transferred it, digitized it, and there was Judee telling her whole story. So then we knew we could have Judee tell her own story. We also got her journals and drawings. So those helped us create a voiceover for the last part of her life, 73 to 79, because from the journals, and the drawings were the basis for the animation style. So it's almost like Judee's animating the film. And then we got the multi-tracks for her second and posthumous final album, Dreams Come True, her second album, Heart Food. And Judee is, in a sense, scoring the film as well. So that allowed us to puzzle out how to have Judee tell her own story. But that's why it also took 10 years or whatever it took to make the film. To some degree, that's why, you know.
Yeah, yeah. The film mentions Judee's complex personality and struggles. How did you balance portraying her autistic brilliance, because she's brilliant, with the realities of her life?
Well, we really wanted to have the film be an immersive experience, you know, where the audience kind of, in a sense, gets to be in Judee's head. And one thing we felt really early on is that we needed to be completely honest with Judee's struggles, the same way that Judee was so honest with her struggles.
Right. Right.
And so knowing how kind of forthright she was and how she didn't hesitate to tell people kind of, you know, every fact of her life, we felt that kind of emboldened us to share not only her triumphs, but also her struggles with the audience.
It's also why she's inspirational, is her honesty about herself. I find that enormously inspiring, you know, the lack of BS surrounding her own details. You know, it was liberating, I think, in a lot of ways. It is liberating in a lot of ways to approach life that way.
The film features interviews with a remarkable range of musicians, from colleagues like Jackson Browne and many other admirers. How did you decide who to include, and what insights did each bring?
Well, first of all, it was really gratifying in that everyone we reached out to, basically their attitude was, it's about time. You know, I'm so glad you guys are doing this. How can I help? And even though it was like a scheduling nightmare to try to figure out when you can interview, you know, touring musicians, just the kind of spirit of generosity was really inspiring. And when you know, make a scrappy independent film like ours, you kind of hang on to any bit of inspiration and energy you can find. And one of the things that kept us going was just knowing that, you know, people like Linda Ronstadt and Jackson Browne and Graham Nash and J.D. Souther and Sean Colvin, and you know, they really wanted this film to be out there, and that really gave us momentum.
Right, right. Now, Judith's music is so unique and suggestive. So, how did you approach translating the power of her music into a visual medium?
Well, that's a great question.
I'm sorry. Yeah, go ahead, Brian.
I was gonna say that's a great question, and we were just very lucky to have such a great team that included our editor Mike Ward and our producer Peter Kenny. And you know, one of the things you have to grapple with when you're making a film about a musician is the power of music and how deep into a song do you go? You know, And it's kind of really, I mean, I'll be curious what you think, Andy, but I think the answer for me to that question was we don't know until we try it. You know, we don't know how long the song needs to be. You know, we really just need to try kind of every iteration, every idea we have, and see
Yeah.
what's kind of union of the music and the film.
Excuse me. Our collaborative style is that we respect each other's ideas. That includes Mike Ward, the editor, and Peter Kenny, the executive producer, and try everything. But that's time consuming, but it's actually kind of probably one of the greatest parts of the process is doing that, because you're wrong a lot of the time too about what you think might not work, and then you see it and like, oh, that does work. I think you could possibly make a valid criticism of the film by saying that we could have had a full song in there, of one full song or multiple or a few, and I think that in some ways would have been nice too, but we were cognizant of other things. There's a lot, we had to include a lot of other aspects to this. And so to some degree, I think that might have been sacrificed to some extent. However, from the beginning, we wanted this to be as sophisticated a discussion about her music as possible. That was the other goal we had, besides Judee telling her own story. So we had to kind of, you know, that we felt that was best done through multiple songs and not full songs.
Right, right. Now the documentary explores the tragic conciseness of Judy's career. Do you think her music would have resonated differently if she had more time?
Yeah, I do. I mean, I think if Judee had more time, we would have just seen a kind of blossoming of her just incredible gifts, including her work in the studio as a producer. You know, I think she could have expanded not only into producing, of course, her own work, but finding, you know, new layers and beauty in other people's work. And, you know, I think she could have really done anything she wanted to. I mean, she was that kind of a talent.
Yeah,
Also now, I mean, I get a lot of messages sent to us on Instagram from young people and musicians especially, who are just so taken with Judee. And I think there are a lot of sophisticated ears out there now, and people can educate themselves on music that they like so easily because of streaming. So in a way, Judee's music, people are more ready for it now because their ears are better. They're actually the ones who are motivated to listen to good music. And she's certainly more well-known now than she ever was in her lifetime. I mean, she's not hugely known now, but you know, I mean, it's not a coincidence.
yeah. Well, I'm getting like I said, I get a lot of comments from old ages, about her. So, I mean, I was like surprised because we're talking about young generation that are listening to her now. So I found that fascinating,
It,
so that's a
and
plus.
absolutely. And Antonio, what's so gratifying is that at our screenings, we see like the young and old, you know, because there are people there who actually remember Judee, you know, from her recording career when she was alive. And there are also lots of young people who have heard about her. And you know, it's really gratifying to see Judee reach, you know, this kind of wide age group.
Yeah, our LA screening was a real cool crowd. I loved it. It was a real mix. It was great. Yeah.
How's the question and answers going? Like, have you guys been out doing those things? So how's the feedback on the film itself?
Oh, it's wonderful. I mean, what's so powerful is Judee just touches people, you know? I mean, we went into this knowing that we couldn't, you know, depend on an audience coming in that already knew everything about Judee. And what's really wonderful is that in the Q&As, you know, people just want to know more. They connect to her, they kind of mourn her, and they want to know more about her.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it's been very gratifying to show it in public. And, you know, we've done a few festivals before this, but now this last week we had the premieres and some other screenings, and it's wonderful.
Now, Los Angeles shines a light on Judy's immense talent. What do you hope audiences will take away from learning about her life and music?
That weebles wobble, but they don't fall down. That she was so hit with so many hardships in her life in so many ways, some of them self-inflicted for sure. But she kept bouncing back and trying. And, you know, she was ultimately defeated by the disease of addiction and a lack of sort of kind of resources that would be available to her now and so on. And, you know, she was the poster child for PTSD and nobody talked about that then. And so there was a lot, you know, she confronted that there were not the resources for it. And yet she kept going on and she wrote songs to the last, you know, days before she died. Her birth certificate, I'm sorry, her death certificate says suicide, but all ODs were ruled suicides in LA County in those days. She absolutely did not want to die. She certainly didn't want to die of an OD. It terrified her. So, you know, she kept on, and I find that resilience just as inspiring as anything about her.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, she was a powerful person, and you know, as she would say, onwards and upwards, fuck the odds. You know, I mean, I really think that was her spirit. And I just want to remind us that, you know, Judee was grappling with all these things at a time when recovery wasn't even in the vernacular. You know, people weren't talking about addiction as a disease. No one really talked about childhood trauma. If you experienced sexual abuse, no one ever talked about it. You know, she was really having to deal with a lot of things in a society that really wasn't kind of equipped to help her as much as I would hope we would be now.
And she understood what she needed to be healed
Yeah.
from, and she
Yeah.
was trying to offer that to other people, which is why she just would be so thrilled to know that her mission to do that is actually alive
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
kicking.
You guys did a wonderful work. You know, it's great film. Do you think Judy's story speaks to a larger issue within the music industry of recognizing and nourishing unique talent?
Well, in those days, though, that existed to some degree
Right.
in places like Asylum Records. The labels don't do that anymore. I don't think any of the major conglomerates who own all the media companies do that anymore, really, because everything's so corporatized. So, you know, but the good news is that the tools to make things the cost to make them have come so far down. People can do things in their living room, in their bedrooms, you know, music production and even filmmaking. So it's good and bad, but I don't think there's any real nurturing that's going to be done at some, you know, record label level anymore,
Right.
You
frankly.
know, it's interesting, two people in the film who developed like meaningful relationships with Judee. Those relationships started because they literally called up Judee out of the blue because there, you know, in those days there was the white pages and she was listed and they loved her music and they would just call her up and they became friends. And I just often wonder, like, what would it have been like if Judee had the resources and technology we have now, where the artist can really communicate kind of directly with the audience and doesn't have to necessarily go through a medium like a label or whatever, you know, and she could have received that kind of feedback and support, even though the numbers might not have been, you know, through the roof. The depth of the support, I think, would have really made a difference for her.
Right. With renewed interest in Judy's work, are there any plans for any future projects or initiatives to keep her music alive?
To be determined, Brian?
I think that's a good way to answer. I mean,
Uh,
what Andy and I have found out is that, like, you know, it's more than what we can do just to try to get the film out there, you know, which we're still in the process of trying to do. You know, we really hope that we'll get a streaming deal so that Judy's work can reach even more people. And of course, you know, a lot of people have, asked about like a soundtrack album or a tribute album or these things. And, as Andy says, to be determined, and, her music needs to live and it needs to reach more people. So, fingers crossed that happens.
Well, I hope so. I really believe in your movie, and I believe in her too. I think she's fantastic, and I think it's a positive film. Everybody seems to love it, and I just congratulate you both. And that journey must be so exciting for you. So everyone, check out this amazing film, Lost Angel, The Genius of Judee Sill, which is in theaters now, New York City, LA, Portland, Santa Fe, San Francisco, Nashville, and more. And it's also on digital and on demand in the US and Canada. And it all started when? April 12th. So it's all good. You guys, thank you. And I hope I get to interview you again, because it's this whole journey is just success. So God bless you, and thank you very much.
Thanks so much for the support. Appreciate it.
No
Thank you,
problem.
Antonio. Great to talk with you again.
God bless you, and you take care.
You
Bye-bye.
too.